What's up, everybody? So today I'm going to do a video on Hero Gear and what the proper order is for upgrading and imbuement. And this one is a shout out to FTK Azim. Zam. He had wrote to me and asked me if I could do a video like this, so no problem. He's a super strong dude over in Kingdom 505. Look at that. It's crazy. Anyways, so going over to Hero Gear, so first and foremost, I only do 3 heroes. I only do gear for 3 heroes. I wish I could do more, but it is what it is. So now when I go, like, if I'm doing King's Castle or whatever, I've actually got to switch out my gear when switching out my offensive defense fears, which is kind of annoying. But it is what it is. So anyway, first and foremost, whenever I'm doing this, the proper order, in my opinion, and I think it's pretty much well accepted throughout the community, is that first you're going to do infantry, then you can do archer, then you do cavalry, right? The question then becomes is how much of infantry do you do before then you switch over to archer, and how much archer do you do before you then switch over to cavalry? And I think there's a lot of people that have different opinions on this. Some people really, really, really go heavy on infantry, just like shoot it to the moon. And then they will do archers and then almost completely ignore cavalry. I don't really agree with that. I think this game favors balance. And so what I do personally, and what I did, was first I focused on Amadeus, and what I wanted to focus on, obviously, was infantry health, right? So infantry health on this is probably the most important stat in the game. This is because, like, every single defense and offense formation is usually very infantry heavy. I don't know of any person that does a formation that has less infantry than anything else. So for instance, currently there's a meta that's going around with 60-40-0 for defense. The old school was 40-20-40 for defense, and on offense you can do 50-20-30 typically. So, and just if you're not familiar with those, like 50-20-30 is 50 infantry, 20 cavalry, 30 archer. And for instance, for defense, 60-40-0 is 60 cavalry, 60 infantry, 40 cavalry, and 0 archer. So with that said, what I did was first I pushed the chest up to 19. Then I personally pushed the glove up to 19. And then I switched it over archer. Now, I think it might have been smarter if I did this to 19, like the chest up to 19, and switched over to the helmet for archer to 19. It's not what I did, but if in retrospect, that's what I would do, and it's currently what I'm going to be doing in the future when I'm going up to these higher levels. And then after that, going and doing cavalry, helmet, and boot. This is because these two are the lethality boosts, and the other two are health boosts. So infantry, you want to focus on health. Cavalry and archer, you want to focus on lethality. All right, so I think in the ideal world, what should have happened was chest to 19, then archer, helmet to 19, then cavalry, helmet to 19, then going back to him and doing the glove to 19 for infantry, then the glove, and then the boot to 19 for the archer, and boot to 19 for cavalry. Then after that, I think it's the proper thing to do is then imbue one of these, the chest or the glove, to level 20. Now this is where it gets a little bit tricky, because when you do the imbuement, you got to realize that even though these are both health, which is essentially like a defensive stat, one is going to get you a boost of attack, which is offensive, obviously, and one is going to get you a boost of defense. So in that case, the first one you should be doing to imbue is the glove, right? And then once you do that, I would then start focusing on imbuing the helmet for cavalry, because this is going to get you boost in attack. And then the helmet for archer, and then helmet for cavalry, because that's going to get you that, right? And then once you've got those 3 stats to 20, I would then start focusing on the other ones and pushing those up to 19. So that would be like pushing up the helmet for infantry, pushing up the chest gear for archers, and chest gear for cavalry. And then when we're talking about imbuement, so this is one thing that's, once you've got this up, like, first off, I would push up, after you're doing that and you've gone through 3 cycles, then I go back here and then I would be pushing up the glove, even though, not the glove, sorry, the chest gear, because that's going to get you then an attack, which is not as good as the other, but still you're going to be pushing up health, which is more important than pushing up lethality for infantry. So for me, it would be going like glove, chest on infantry, helmet, boot on archer, and then helmet, boot on cavalry, and then going back down to the first thing for like Amadeus, and then focusing on getting his lethality up to 1919, right? And then once you get to the point where you've actually like gotten everybody up to like gears 39, which I'm closing in on pretty shortly, but not quite there. That's when you have to kind of like make this decision, which is, the next imbuement here is essentially going to get you a conquest boost, and that's just garbage, right? I mean, in my opinion, I have no use for conquest whatsoever, so it's not very useful. And so I'm almost at that point where I've gotten everything up to 39. And I think that's like a place where I want to be first before I start imbuing anything up beyond that. Because it's cheaper at this level. Every level you go up is cheaper. And I do believe that this game does appreciate balance more than having completely lopsided things. Like, you could see it when you do certain attack formations. Like, if you've ever tried doing bear with your, like, 0, 0, 100, like 100% archers, you're going to do worse than if you do 10, 10, 80. So it does seem to be, like, something where, for whatever reason, you need these other things to balance it out. And I'm not sure how the formulation works or the algorithm works, but it seems to be that balance matters in this game. So for me, personally, when I get to this point, and then I'm going to have to imbue infantry up to level 40... Let me see which one I'm going to be doing. It's going to be this one right here. The chest piece, and I'm going to push it all the way to 60. So the next thing I'm going to do is once I get everything up to 39, I'm going to be pushing this one up to 60, like all the way up that high. And once I get there, then I'll switch out, and I will likely go up to, let's see, it's going to be boot or... It'll be the boot. So then I'll do the boot to 60 for the archer, and then I'll do the boot to 60 for the cavalry, and then I'll switch back over to infantry, and I will push his glove up to 60 at that point. But I think the mistake is to stop at 40, because then you're essentially just like sitting in this section where you're just boosting up conquest, and that's just useless in my opinion. So I think it's important to go all the way up. Now, one thing you do need to realize is this imbuement gets really expensive. So right here is my last piece I need to imbue to get to level 20, and I'll be doing that next time. And for this, it's going to be 3 mythic pieces and 10 mithril. And the mithril is like $5 each if you're not getting it for free. I don't spend money on that. I just get it through Arena or the Mystic, the trial shop, or whatever way I can get it for free. But this goes up considerably when you're going to the next level. So for instance, when I'm going up to infantry, this is going to be 5 mythic pieces and 20 mithril. So that's essentially $100 right there. And I don't even know how much it's going to go up when I go to 40, and then, when I go up to 60. But I assume it'll be in the ballpark of, maybe 10 and 40 or something like that. Maybe 30 if I'm lucky. So anyways, that is how I plan on doing it. And essentially what I am going to be doing is keeping it fairly balanced, but emphasizing infantry health, cavalry lethality, and archer lethality as well. And then focusing to make sure I don't mess up those imbuements, so I'm getting the imbuements right in the right sections too. So anyways, that's how I do this, and I hope that you find some use in that.